Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Well, today I am talking about and doing a full review of one of my absolute favourite watches. A watch that has entered my collection, is staying in my collection, and has been worn a lot. It is the Houtman Pilbara Rock. This watch is stunning and I really enjoy wearing it, and I've been really looking forward to doing this in-depth review. I do want to say a big thanks to Jason from Houtman Watches. He lives in my local area in the place where I live in Australia, and he was nice enough a while back to come out to my place and show me some of his watches. He lent me some of his new Merchant series watches, and he also left me a Pilbara watch. Now, I have to admit, I'd seen all the videos and looked at pictures of this Pilbara range of watches, that which this one is a part of, and I thought, hey, that looks really good. I like it. I like the dimensions, I like the look of it, I like the price of it, but I'd never hit that buy it now button. There was something holding me back. So when Jason came over, he left me one of these, he left me the blue dial version, and to be honest, when I was chatting to him, I wasn't really paying that much attention to it. I was looking at the new Merchant series, something which I'd sort of already thought that I'm definitely going to buy one of those. And when I was talking to him about the watches, I sort of asked him a few questions. He sort of said that these watches that he's producing, especially this one being his first watch, he was trying to produce the perfect watch for him. He's just happened to sell them as well, so he's created this amazing watch for himself, something that really fits in with his personality, but hopefully fits in with other people's personalities too. It wasn't until the next day that I then picked up this watch. I picked it up, resized it, stuck it on wrist, and thought, I'm going to take my dog for a walk. I'll wear this one whilst walking. I got about 500 meters from my front door, and I was looking at this watch, and I was feeling this watch, and I thought, I need this watch. There is something transformative about this watch when you stick it on wrist. It just has a presence and a feel and a fit that really shocked me. I did not expect that from this watch. And I quite literally was 500 meters away when I grabbed out my phone and I pressed buy it now on this one. So I paid full price for this one. At the moment on the Houtman website, this one here is $799. The other colour variants are $749 Australian dollars. Jason has been very nice enough to give me a discount code, so if you are interested in this watch or one of his other watches that he has on his website, I will leave a link down directly to his website, and if you use the discount code WatchingJames, all one word. No affiliations here at all, just a nice discount code for you guys. I've seen people already use this discount code, and it was actually a significant discount and well worth using. Hopefully this goes on for some time, not sure when the expiry of that discount code is. And guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I really would appreciate it if you just click on that little subscribe button. But that's enough of me talking. Let's get into the full in-depth review of my Houtman Pilbara Rock. So here we have the Houtman Pilbara Rock, in particular the Rock variation. There are some other variations which I'll show you in a minute. Firstly, it comes in this great leather watch roll, something that you can reuse over and over again with multiple other watches. Watch roll that is leather, made in Australia. Comes with a couple of tools. Comes with your sort of warranty card there, which is very nice. Comes with a strap here, an additional rubber strap, which is a really nice rubber strap. I'll put that aside and talk about that a little bit later. And of course we have my sort of Houtman Pilbara Rock, the Rock edition, the one that I chose, the one that I'm really impressed by. So on paper we've got a lot going on here, especially for the price. We have a unique compressed rock dial. This one here is actually compressed rock, which is awesome. It is inspired by the Pilbara area, which is in the northern western of Australia, which is very unique. And when you go up into those sorts of areas and then you see the dial of this watch, you go, oh yeah, that's obviously where that is inspired from. Sapphire crystal, has a high beat premium end 9039 Miyota movement, 200 meters of water resistance, 2 years of warranty, and free shipping worldwide. So there's a lot to like about this watch even before you get it in hand. When you do get it in hand, especially this particular variation, this rock variation, there is something very special going on. So let's check out that dial, because every dial on these rock variations, and there's only a limited amount of them available, is different. Yes, because it is actually crushed rock, crushed and pressed and pushed into a sort of a dial, it then is a little bit different every single one of them. So if you buy one of these, your dial will look slightly different. Big thanks to Jason for coming over to me when I bought one. He brought over every single one he still had available, and I got to pick the one that I wanted. So I'm very impressed that I got to do that. Because it is a sort of a slightly delicate surface, they weren't able to print onto it or put indices, but I'm so glad they haven't, because then it's ended up getting some really more cool features about it. Especially that sort of inner sort of bezel there where the indices are. That's like a black color. The indices are then sort of applied on top of there, and it is hovering over the dial. So it creates a bit of a 3D stepped effect, which you'll see there. Nice matte black color, nice strong lume on all of those hour markers as well. You can see there is a minute track, double baton at the 12, singles everywhere else, and then the hands match in perfectly with that. You'll see the buttons coming out of the sort of the indices, and they match beautifully with those hands. These ones are all black hands, which is really cool. It sort of contrasts with this sort of light, sort of reddy, pinky, salmony dial really well. Lume on them as well, and great to see the second hand is also black. Now, printing, as I said, is a bit of a delicate dial with this compressed rock, so they weren't able to print onto it, or at least they were concerned about damaging it, and as a result they've ended up printing on the sapphire crystal. You can see there the Houtman logo up there, automatic 200 meters down there, which has created something rather special. Firstly, as you can see right now, you can actually see the hands passing underneath the logos, which is really cool. Also, in certain lights, it'll cast the shadow down onto that rock dial, which is really, really cool. Seeing Houtman sort of double printed on the underside of that sapphire and then down on the dial. You also get some nice other shadows from the hands as well, which is very, very cool. Really do enjoy that. But if this particular dial, you don't like the speckled sort of aspect of it, you don't like the color of it, well, you can go for something a little bit more traditional, and you can go for some other colors. What you can get is a white dial. This one here is called the white salt dial. This one has actually been particularly popular. Whenever I've been talking to people about this watch who have bought this watch, most of them, or a lot of them at least, have bought this one or are interested in this one. And if they haven't bought that one, well, they've gone for the blue dial. This one I actually had a little bit of hands-on experience with, the one that I actually was able to borrow before I bought this one, and that is also beautiful. And as soon as I showed this particular watch to a friend of mine, he went and bought the blue one straight away. Now, I'm sure the others have sold well as well, but I have not had any sort of experience with people with that. And that is a green dial, which he's calling the Jade. And he's also got a much more traditional one, the black dial, which, hey, let's call it a black dial because that's what he called it. And that's pretty much the easiest way to describe it, isn't it? Black. And I like that he's actually thought ahead as well in regards to contrast and be able to see and be a legible watch, because this dial and the white dial has black hands, as you can see, whereas the other colors, being a darker color, they have brushed stainless steel hands. So there is still that nice legibility between the watches. So depending on which dial you pick, depends on the type of hand you have, or at least the finishing on the hands. So check out the website to see which one is which, but pretty much this one and the white have the black hands. Covering that awesome sort of dial there with the printing on it is a double domed sapphire crystal. It is only slightly domed, but it has a really nice sort of gentle doming to it. It does have AR coating, and it sort of just looks and fits really well. And as I mentioned, those are printed on the underside, and it gives a really cool shadowed effect, which I really like. One of the other things I really like about this watch is the dimensions of the watch, because it is something that really suits my wrist well, and it's the kind of dimensions that are going to suit a lot of people very, very well. So what are those dimensions that we're looking at? Well, a case diameter of 41 millimeters, but the bezel overhangs it a tiny little bit, making it 41.7 millimeters. In fact, when you then turn it around and look at it, you'll see it's actually only the grip on that sort of bezel that actually overhangs, which is kind of cool. Whilst we've got it looking like this, the thickness is 12 millimeters, which is a very nice slim thickness for a dive watch especially. Lug to lug, 48.7 millimeters, which is a really nice thing. I really like watches around 48 millimeters. I think that's almost perfect, and this is just slightly bigger than that. We have a lug width of 22 millimeters, and on this bracelet that is supplied with, set to my 6 3/4 inch wrist, is 158 grams, which is a beautiful weight of this style of watch on wrist. It really adds to that effect on wrist as well. And the bezel, you say, how is the bezel? Well, the bezel is fantastic, but I have to admit I'm a little bit disappointed. The first time ever in my life, I scratched the watch. I hit this up against a brick wall, I heard it, I felt it. It hit and it scraped across it. I had my dog running up to me. I knelt down to give her a pat and she whacked her head into my hand, straight into a brick wall. It was a disgusting feeling, let alone sound. So when I looked down and actually looked at it, the damage is actually really minor. There is a noticeable little line there. The bezel edge has been sort of damaged a very small amount, much less than I expected. I expected this watch to have a terrible look to it. So it's actually withstood a really hard knock to a wall. So I guess that's a positive. It's a negative that I've now got a little bit of a mark on my watch, but it is showing that it's actually able to take a bit of a hit. Now, talking about that bezel, there is an inner solid stainless steel ring you'll see, which is really nice. It doesn't move. That's sort of set within the watch there. This here is a sandblasted IP coated black, which I think is really cool. I think it has a really nice texture and look to it, like a real matte finish to it. Obviously we have the markers, the diamond there up at the 12, a couple of dashes, 15, 30 and 45, and we have a really sort of nice easy coinage bezel to grab onto. As I mentioned, you can sort of see that it just overhangs a tiny little bit, and it's the perfect amount to grab onto it. And then when you do grab onto it and you do start turning, oh yeah, what a good sound, what a good feeling. Yeah, absolutely no backplay whatsoever. Just a beautiful feeling bezel, and hard enough that it has some resistance so that you would never sort of think that would be knocked, but also not so hard that it is hard to move. And of course the alignment is perfect, which is exactly what you want from an alignment on a watch, unlike some of those other brands that we may talk about sometimes. There is a heap of lume on this one, not just on the dial, not just on the hands, but also on the crown. On the crown here we have the Houtman logo, which is a very cool looking sort of logo, and that is loomed as well. So let's check out that lume, because it is a particularly good lume. It's sort of one of the probably better looms in my collection. When you compare it against things like Seiko, this thing does an absolute great job. So I'm very impressed by it. It's the kind of watch that if you're inside, you're wearing it and you walk past a window, then you look down at your watch and you've only had a few seconds of it in the sun because you've just literally walked past a window, this thing is glowing, and it's a really cool thing to see when these things happen to you. We have a mixture of surfacing on the case itself. We've got brushed on the top of those lugs. There is a nice sort of beautiful polished chamfered edge there. Brushed on the sides, which is really nice. I do like that mixture of polished and brushed surfaces. Really nice brush surfaces as well, which I'm really impressed by. Now we have the unguarded crown at the 3 o'clock, as we would expect. As I've already mentioned, it has the Houtman logo. Very easy to grab hold of, very easy to grab. Screw down, obviously being 200 meters of water resistance, pops up into the first position beautifully, very nice, and a very nice feeling from this Miyota movement. Very, very nice. And the good thing is, no ghost position, straight into hacking. So that's a really nice feature as well. You know, you still tend to appreciate that when you do get a watch without a date that has no ghost position. So I really do appreciate that. Very easy and nice to screw back into as well. Very much feel confident about having this one in water. The bracelet is a absolute standout feature as well. We have solid end links that fit perfectly into the case. There's not any movement whatsoever, but I do really like how they've done that. It is a female end link, so it does drop away straight away, but I like how they sort of included part of the patterning of the bracelet itself up onto the link, so it really sort of transitions it all the way up to the dial of the watch, which is kind of cool. Now the bracelet does look like a 5 link, however it is actually just 1 link made to look like 5, but it is done really well. All brushed, as you can see, all brushed on the sides as well. It does have a little bit of taper going down to the clasp. We have screw links, which is what we do expect nowadays, and we do actually enjoy. And we've got a really, really nice clasp on here. It is all brushed, Houtman logo, double pushes, all milled inside as well. A really nice milled inner into this watch. You can see there's a little bit of dirt on this one. This is a watch that I wear a lot, so it doesn't surprise me at all that there's a little bit of dirt. Case back, we have the Red Dog. Red Dog is a story about from up north here in Western Australia, about a dog that was lost and that he came back to his owner. They actually made a movie out of it if you want to Google Red Dog. If we zoom in a bit more on that back there, you'll see the Red Dog is nice in 3D as well, but also we have quick release spring bars on that bracelet, and we've got some writing, 200 meters of water resistance, automatic, Houtman watches, stainless steel, sapphire crystal. And in behind that Red Dog is the high beat premium grade Miyota 9039, which is quite a nice move, and I've been really enjoying it. Always a little bit cautious about Miyotas, about the noise, This one has no noise whatsoever. It ticks along really, really well. Doesn't have that wobble at all. No ghost position, as I mentioned. But let's stick it on the time grapher and see how this one is performing. So as you can see, it's a high beat movement running at 28,800 vibrations per hour. Beat error is 0, which is absolutely spot on what we want. Nice healthy amplitude of 282. Now, it's running about minus 15 seconds a day, which, to be honest, is within the specifications of this movement. Probably a little bit slower than I like, but I'm sure I could adjust that in the future if I chose to do so. What I am very much happy about is these two figures, though. Shows you the health of this movement. It does also come with a nice rubber strap. I'm not a big rubber strap guy. I think they're very convenient, very good to use in certain circumstances, but I don't tend to wear them. What I can say, it is a particularly nice one. Heaps of levels of adjustment there for you. Nice and soft. Black certainly sort of suits this style of watch. Look at that. Yeah, I think that'd suit it quite well. But it comes with such a good bracelet. Probably one of the best experiences of this watch is actually having it on wrist with this bracelet. So even if I liked rubber straps, I probably wouldn't be using it. And one of my absolute favorite features about this watch is actually the on-wrist experience, both the look, the size, and the feel. It has such a great feel on wrist. Really conforms and wraps around my wrist. Really sort of suits my 6 3/4 inch wrist. Plenty of room there. You could wear this on a smaller wrist, bigger wrist. It's absolutely fantastic. And it feels so good. It really feels amazing. There's very few watches that I've ever tried on that have this sort of lovely wrist experience. So what do I like about it? What don't I like? And what would I change? Well, there's a long list of likes. That on-wrist experience is absolutely up there. It's probably my favorite part about this whole watch. But the looks, I love it. I love how individual it is. I love how different it is, but I love how good looking it is. I love that shadowing effect of both the name as well as those sort of indices and those hands onto that interesting rock dial. I love the bezel action of this one. The quality of this one is outstanding and is really, really obvious. The price in regards to that quality, a great proposition there, price versus quality. I'm very happy with the price. That case back is awesome. It's very 3D, which I do like. The bracelet is very comfortable, and the loom on this thing is impressive. And there's actually nothing that I dislike about it. You know, yes, I am very excited about this watch. Yes, I absolutely love this watch, but I'm trying to be sort of unbiased. I'm trying to find things that I may not like about it, but I can't find anything that I don't like. And in fact, even when I think about changing things, there's only two things that come up for me. And those two things are actually not needed whatsoever. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if it would make it any better. Firstly, those links being solid. Well, I guess having those as all individual links might give you a slightly more luxury feel. I don't think it would actually feel any difference on wrist. I just think perhaps when you're playing with a bracelet, you may think, oh wow, look, those are 5 individual links. So really no real difference. And to be honest, the only reason I'm going to say this is because I've now experienced another Houtman watch, the Murchison series, which have an on-the-fly adjustment inside the clasp there. Now, I have no issues with this clasp. I particularly like it, actually. It's very comfortable. I've got a great fit from this. But having seen that other Murchison series clasps, well, if this had a slight on-the-fly adjustment clasp on here that is as good as that Murchison series watches that Houtman does, well, that would be absolutely fantastic as well. But guys, let's flip the camera around now and let's get back to me, give you some of my final thoughts about one of my favorite watches. So obviously I absolutely love this watch. It is a permanent fixture into my collection and I do wear it a lot. But whenever I do think about buying watches, I ask myself the question, what else could I get for the money? And it's a good question to ask, and it's likely a question that if you're considering this watch, you should probably ask yourself. And let me tell you, at this price, for the quality of this watch, the movement in this watch, the individual look of this watch, and how well it fits on wrist, is actually not that much out there on the market that I would compare it against. There are plenty of great watches at this price. There may be watches that you prefer the look of, and I understand that. But when you put all the factors together with this watch, I can't think of anything else that is as good as this watch, especially the individual look of it, the great sort of feel of it. I have only ever had one, maybe 2 other watches that have even had come close to the feel on wrist that this watch has. But like I said at the start of the video, as soon as it was on wrist, literally my phone came out and I pressed buy it now. And I've never done that before. This was the first time that I just went, oh my, there's something special about this watch, I need to buy it. Now, there is something special about quite a few of the watches in my collection, but nothing has this feel. Nothing feels this good on wrist. And it's something that you can't really get across in a video or by looking on a website. I hope that this video has helped a little bit with your decision-making process if you are considering buying one of these, or at least sort of opens you up to the idea of Houtman watches. Get you on his website, just have a bit of a look around and see the type of things that he's putting out. Thanks again to Jason for the effort of coming over to my house, showing me these watches and giving me the opportunity to have that hands-on experience with them, because realistically without that I may not have bought one. And I'm so glad that he did give me that experience, because then obviously I now own one of my absolute favourite watches in my collection. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I do hope to see you in the next video.